and welcome to Itsy Bitsy, the little podcast about childish things. Today, I'm super excited to be chatting with the Veggie Nuggets, who are a group of teenage climate activists based in New York City. Hi, guys!
Hey.
Hi, Itsy Bitsy.
Okay, so since there's so many of you, I think we should probably go around and have you each say your name so we can associate your name with, or your voice with each person. Do you want to start, Umed?
Sure. I'm Umid.
I'm Emily.
I'm Aylin.
I'm Lillian.
I'm Anand.
To get started, can you guys introduce the work that you do with the Veggie Nuggets?
Okay, I can do it. So we started all in the same school, but we've expanded to like neighbors and friends throughout Queens. And we do a lot of different things. We do a lot of community art, like murals, painting, all sorts of different walls in our neighborhood. And then we also have a garden. And we also do a lot of advocacy for climate change efforts.
So we're all just like kind of a group of like-minded people who happen to live in Queens.
Gotcha. And you started this initiative in middle school.
Yeah, a long
Okay.
time ago.
Okay. Yeah, can you guys talk about how the Veggie Nuggets got started?
So we started off as a robotics team and problem solving. And we competed in like Lego League and Destination Imagination, which were like problem solving and robotics competitions. And then we eventually switched our focus in 2021 to climate advocacy, because we realized that, or like we wanted to dive deeper into what it meant to like compost and how we can get involved in our community.
That's awesome. I was in Lego League.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, Lego League rules. And who came up with the name?
Ooh. Okay, I think I'm gonna claim the credit for that. Although I to be honest, it's a little bit murky in
I don't
our
think I
collective
do.
memories. So we can say it was like a kind of a group project. I think we were sitting around our middle school lunch table, which we actually had pretty good middle school lunch, I would say. And someone was talking about chicken nuggets, and then we were like, we gotta come up with like a funny name. And so me and Umid are vegetarian, and we were like, oh, Veggie Nuggets, and someone threw that out, and we were like, oh yeah, that's really funny. And so we were like, yeah, we'll stick with it.
That's awesome. Never change it. It's a perfect name for what you guys do. Okay, so if we could each go around, I'm curious about how each of you individually got involved, or were you all founding members?
No.
Okay.
Well, I was the first person to join after they founded it. I'm Umed Nan's neighbor, so like I heard a lot about like what they were doing from them, and I was like, oh, like this looks kind of cool. And it was like during the pandemic, so I kind of had like nothing else to do, and I was like, hey, I'll join. So
I was also not a founding member. I joined last year, like around this time in 2024. And my mom was sort of involved with the Veggie Nuggets, like while they were founding. Like I think she connected them with the Jackson Heights Beautification Group, which the two groups work together a lot, like on the garden and the composting site. But it was a couple years before I joined. I was doing more work like with the JHBG and at the composting site. But I just saw the Veggie Nuggets around and they were doing a lot of good work, so I wanted to join them.
That's awesome. And the rest of you were founding members.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did you guys start the garden? And where is it?
we have a garden on 69th Street and 35th Avenue in Jackson Heights, Queens. Actually, all of us here live in Jackson Heights. And it's next to the composting site, JH Scraps. And we started it in 2021. We were kind of like, so the city shut down in 2020, and I wasn't there when this happened, but Virginia had gotten a grant for composting at their school, but they couldn't carry it out because the city had been shut down. So they connected up with JH Scraps, and they met a woman named Ashley Cruz, who's a master composter at JH Scraps, and she took them around Scraps and helped them volunteer. And then they decided they wanted to start a garden, and that's when I joined. And so then we were looking at like areas around JH Scraps because we use the compost from JH Scraps that we make when we volunteer there, and we use it for our garden. And so, yeah, we were looking at sites and we found one right next to JH Scraps. It was a total mess. It was really so many weeds, so much garbage. It was like really
Poop.
bad. Yeah, so
Human and
Like literally?
dog.
and
It was not the greatest, but
Gatorade bottles full of pee.
oh, that was a fun one because I almost
bottles full of pee.
I didn't almost drink it. He thought it was yellow Gatorade.
no, I didn't.
Multiple bottles full of pee?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
pretty
was-
regular sighting. I found an umbrella filled with poop one time.
Stop.
And ruin it up from the
Yeah.
mill. That's like some Mary Poppins.
And then one time, someone dumped a huge thing of plastic forks and then pooped on it. And that was great.
But you still saw the potential.
Yeah, we saw potential in it, and we maintained it pretty regularly for about 4 years. And then last September 25th, 2024, our garden got completely torn down, and we had to rebuild it last spring. And we got like volunteers from like all of our various schools, and we rebuilt the entire thing and came back stronger. And we made a film about it called Perennial.
Let's definitely get the details for that at the end. That sounds great.
I just think the other fun thing that happened when we rebuilt the garden is we applied for this grant worth like $10,000 from the state to create a pollinator habitat. And so that's kind of what we ended up doing, and that's how we were able to rebuild the garden as well.
What was it before? Just like an abandoned lot?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It was an abandoned lot that I think kind of it was bordering on the space that the Jackson Heights Beautification Group had tried to like maintain sporadically. And the part that we were working on had like really never been gardened or taken care of.
Yeah, it's also bordering like railroad tracks and the highway, so it's like pretty polluted.
Oh, gross. And then what happened when it got torn down?
So I think the general story was that basically that area has a lot of rats, and somehow the railroad company that owns the lot, but we thought it was the Department of Transportation that owned the lot, they had gotten like a rat violation on that site and a bunch of neighboring sites. And what they had decided to do in response was just like mow everything that was there and in the surrounding area down, which is not the recommended way to do it, but they decided to mow everything down, I guess, without really remembering that we had agreed with them to garden there, so.
Yeah, and in spite of the fact that there were like very obviously like marked beds and paths and like a bench and a mural, like it wasn't mistakable for a lot or a patch of weeds.
Mhm.
And also the when they tore it down, it was for a rat complaint. We discovered it was a rat complaint on like a totally different street. And Shaker's office, Councilmember Shaker Krishnan, his office helped us figure out who did it and helped us contact them. And then JHPG helped us enter an agreement with them.
Well, good on you guys for rebuilding. That must have been kind of devastating, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tricky.
It was.
And even like other members in our community, they were shocked to see like, oh, they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like this happened to your guys' garden, because we know how hard like you guys worked on it. And so it wasn't just a shock to us, it was a shock to everyone else. And that definitely created some like sadness.
I bet. Yeah. And currently, you guys all maintain it as an activist group, or do people at your school come by, or community members too?
Yeah.
As a group, we like kind of take the lead in maintaining it, but we always kind of invite community members to volunteer with us, especially if, let's say, it's a really good day for volunteers at the neighboring compost site, then they'll send a couple volunteers up, and vice versa. I mean, if they're short on volunteers, we'll go volunteer with them before working on our garden.
We've also like recruited the help of some other groups, like some Girl Scout troops have helped a lot, like with building and rebuilding the garden. And also it's pretty cool to see, like before we started planting there was a pretty like substantial homeless population that was living in the area. And it's cool to see those same people enjoying like the beauty. And also I've seen a couple people in the area like helping out at the compost site and like to pick up trash and maintain the garden, which is really great to see.
That's awesome. Have there been any poop incidents since, or are we in the clear? Oh
It's
no.
kind of pretty good, but it's not like
We're more in the clear. Like I'd say that the poops per
It's
month.
better than it
Yeah.
was. It's much better.
the rate is down. But I mean, it's also not like it's not too much. Like we've kind of figured out how to handle it. It's not like a too big of a trouble as long as it's not like on a flower or something, which no one really does that.
Yeah, it's not like be all end all.
Yeah.
Anand, were you gonna estimate the poops per month rate?
Yeah, I'd say we're down to like 1 or 2 instead of like 5 or 6 when in the beginning.
Yeah.
5 or 6 a month?
Yeah, maybe I think
Like
some,
every week at least one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least.
That's city living for you. I mean, it's like kind of fertilizer a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe.
That's gross. Also, Umed and Anand, are you guys brothers?
We're twins.
You're twins. I was gonna say when you're each speaking, I was looking back and forth, and I was like, these guys look so similar. Okay.
One
That's
of them
why we're on
always
opposite
lies and
sides.
one of them always tells the truth.
You have to figure out which.
Yeah,
That's why we're on opposite sides of the room. We can't stand each other.
No, you're just kidding.
How it goes with brothers. Okay, let's back up a little bit. I'm curious to hear how each of you found out about climate change, if you remember how old you were and how you found out.
Speaking for myself, it was always something that was in the collective consciousness and that I was aware of like for as long as I could remember. Like when I saw that question before coming here, I was really trying to nail down one specific time, but I feel like we were born at a time when it was just always a thing.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I think it's always like been in the back of my mind. But when I remember like getting a bit more involved was back in 2018 when AOC first ran for office. I think I was like 9 maybe, and and my dad went to volunteer on her campaign. So I like went with him and I helped him phone bank for her. And I remember like learning a lot about like the policies that she was like trying to introduce, like the Green New Deal and like other things, and it just kind of opened my eyes like a little bit more. It was really cool.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really know that much about climate change until probably like third or fourth grade. Um,
It's pretty early.
no, or like fifth grade. Actually, I think it was fifth grade. I think it was fifth grade because I mean I knew about it, but like as like some sort of abstract concept. I didn't really know what the effects would be, or like I just it's something like adults talked about and I didn't really care about. But then I think we saw this movie. Emily, you might remember this. We saw this movie in fourth grade. I think our science teacher showed it to us, and it was like it was pretty doom and gloom, I gotta say. It was like talking about like mass migration and like potential wars and famines that would be caused by climate change. And you know some of those things are actually coming true right now. So yeah.
And you saw that in school?
Yeah, in school.
Our science teacher was pretty incredible. I do also remember that Con Ed sent over like
Yeah.
this really funny. It was in retrospect, it's really funny that they sent this like efficiency thing. They gave us like a water efficient shower ad, and they were like, you're solving climate change." And then they gave us a refrigerator temperature monitor or something to make sure if we're like wasting our refrigerator energy.
Right, because we're the problem. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I think the LED light bulbs that they gave out were pretty good. I mean, we still have some sitting around.
I
They
think
gave out.
that one's the LED light bulb.
Yeah.
Emily, what about you?
Yeah, I would say like the concept of climate change, I've also kind of thought of it as like an abstract thing, but it was like I would hear about it in the news or like hear my parents talk about it, but I didn't really know much about it until I saw that movie in our science class. Even though it tended to like over dramatize things, I feel like that was like a good way for us to know about climate change. Like even if it was a little exaggerated, like it opened my eyes. So,
And you said that was third or fourth grade?
yeah, like the fourth grade.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was curious if climate change had worked its way into your guys' school curriculum, because I grew up in rural Pennsylvania and it was never discussed, like not even in high school. But I've just wondered if New York City was like a little more progressive and maybe you guys did discuss it in school. I mean, it sounds like you had a specific teacher who showed you guys that, but do you know if it was like part of your curriculum?
They only added it, I think, to the curriculum this past year for high
For
school.
the high school, the
Yeah.
Regents testing curriculum they added this past year.
But like I've had classes, especially like in science, where like teachers like will talk about it because it like relates to like what we're learning about.
Oh, wait, actually, you know what? I take back what I just said. I think it might have been there for longer. They just added to the chemistry curriculum. I don't know if it might have been the biology one before.
I
But
think it
anyway,
was in the biology one before because like biology is like ecology too.
yeah.
I feel like it really tends to be shafted though. Like every experience I've had, like if it wasn't a teacher that was personally passionate about it, it would be kind of squished into a really small unit at the end of the year and generally undercut.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would have expected, but that's interesting. Okay, so you guys each learned about it at different times. Was there a particular event for each of you that inspired you to want to take action on climate?
I guess like so when we were in I think sixth grade or maybe going into seventh grade, like just barely pre-pandemic as like the pandemic was starting to roll in, there was like this plan for a new peaker plant in Astoria, which is where I go to school now, where one of my like best friends at the time lived. Like he lived right across the street from like where they were going to build the new plant, and it was like kind of like this thing where I was like, we were thinking about like what this would do, and it was just like adding like more pollution into the atmosphere. Astoria is already kind of known as this relatively polluted area, and so it was just like kind of
And also kind of unnecessary, you know, like we already have so many power plants. Like, can we maybe use that energy and like that land for something better, which is actually what happened, if anyone wants to talk about that.
Also, around that time, like so many people, I remember so many people in my community were getting sent to the hospital like left and right because of like respiratory issues, like asthma, especially from like school buses and things like that. Which is something that not a lot of people notice. But I
And
mean
lung
that's
cancer.
what
And I was just saying, and lung cancer.
yeah, and lung cancer.
Mm. Yeah, it's a really congested area already.
And specifically in Astoria, like it was called Asthma Alley because there was already like so many power plants in Astoria. It's home to one of the biggest ones called Big Alice, and like there was already so much pollution there that adding another power plant, especially one that was going to run on fracked gas, would just be so like horrible for the environment. So we were part of the coalition that fought it, and we ended up winning. And the company called? I don't know what it's called, but they started this thing called Beacon Wind.
What happened was like they ended up using it as a transformer for wind turbines that were already being built in the Speak and Wind project that you're right.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was like a long time ago, but like the environmental permitting like takes so long, and like the environmental protections are there for a reason. But if you were going to try to build a peaker plant, like all these like permitting and regulation processes are like expedited because of like the lobbyists and the industry in power, and so like. But for making a wind turbine, it'll take 3 to 4 years just to get a permit to build it or to put it down. And it was just like I felt like it was kind of saddening, like how much red tape they had to go through just to build it. And so anyway, this company, Equinor, which is like a gas company, but a lot of the gas companies are like some of them are trying to switch to renewable energy so they can like not run out of business basically. And so they tried to do it for a while and they basically gave it up because it was taking so long. And so now another company picked it up. So like even once we won and said, okay, there's no peaker plant going to be here, then like there's this whole struggle of like how can we even get renewable energy here in the first place? Like if the energy is needed or if we want to replace the gas, like something has to like replace it, like we have to start building renewable energy.
But that fight to stop that peaker plant was kind of a moment for me where I was like, wow, I can actually kind of do something about this. Like I remember I was just looking at this picture, like this really old picture from those rallies, and it was me and like kind of this whole group and like our parents and one of our city council members and then Chuck Schumer and Zohran Mamdani all in the same like, and this was before Zohran was like a big guy in the whole New York political scene, but it was just kind of a really funny picture that I saw that I was like, wow, that is like such a privilege to be able to like kind of work with all these like incredibly powerful people to bring about change.
Wait, was that on the bike ride picture?
Yeah, there was like some type of bike rally, I think.
Yeah,
and
we all went to that.
I think all of us were there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all of us were there.
Wow. Would you all agree that that was a big moment for you that made you want to take action?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We even made a little video, but I can send you the video too.
Oh,
It was
please
like
do.
it had like little animations of like smoke clouding up the world.
Yeah, it was super, super cute. I think you would like it.
Yes, please send that over. Okay. What are some recent initiatives that the Veggie Nuggets have participated in or enacted?
You want to talk about street work, Celine?
Oh, yeah. So our friends Anjali and Ernest run a nonprofit called Make Justice Normal. And this year, a couple weeks ago, was their second annual event called Streetworks. And it's like an all-day tabling event, basically, and it brings together like artists and activists from like all across like the community. And it's basically like a climate arts festival. And so one of my favorite things there actually is this bead curtain that Anjali and Ernest made. It has like all of these climate statistics made completely out of beads. And there's like words like written in the beads that you can like, if you like look closely at it, you can like see them, and then you have to find a word from like each side of the curtain. And then you have to like fill in the blank on this like piece of paper. And it's like about like what you can like do to help the earth, and it's really cool, honestly. But like Shears as a whole is just such a fun event. This year I know like they had to like start turning people away because everyone wanted to table there. And I got people from my work at NYC Boats to table, and there was Queens Climate Product was there. I think JHBG was there. There was just a bunch of different climate organizations and arts organizations like Kaleidospace, and everything's connected back to the climate. It's just an arts festival, and it's a great way to tie climate change into art, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
Last year we were an artist for them, actually, and we made this thing called Wasted Potential. And it was this blank canvas that we put like a couple of composting statistics on. And then we cut up like fruits and veggies and had like a bunch of paint. And as people like walked by throughout the day, they like block printed with the fruits and veggies on the canvas to show how we can compost food. And it turned out really cool at the end of the day. And then we toured it at the garden school, which is a school in our neighborhood, this past year. And we taught these elementary school kids about composting, and that was pretty cool. So
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. That was last year?
that was this past year, yeah.
Yeah, I saw pictures. That seemed really cool. Is that the first time that you guys have partnered with a school?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
We're planning on doing another little partnership with a school. I don't know if it'll work out, but we're gonna try to. We're putting up like a little library in our neighborhood. If your viewers know what that is, it's like those little free libraries that you see in neighborhoods. And we're gonna get kids. We're gonna try to get kids from like a local elementary school to like paint on it and make it like really dripped out. So I think that'll be really fun.
That's awesome. Any other recent initiatives you guys want to talk about?
And the green healthy schools too.
Oh yeah, and Green New Deal for schools.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things.
There's a lot.
Well, let's choose like I don't know, what do you guys want to-
Well, we've been working kind of since the garden got destroyed. We've been brainstorming and working on and producing the movie that we mentioned before, Perennial, which is premiering at the Queens World Film Festival. We had a trailer that played at the festival that Lillian was talking about, Streetworks. And yeah, it's just a lot of footage from throughout the Veggie Nuggets history, but like focusing specifically on the effort to rebuild the garden and sort of investigate what happened and move forward. Yeah.
Nice. Any other ones?
I mean, we're such a small group that we don't like spearhead our own like big policy asks or anything like that. But we've done a lot of like different work helping out with different organizations around the city. So right now, one of the ones that we were working with is Green Healthy Schools campaign, which is run by Triage. And what they're trying to get is having all our schools retrofitted, and we're getting them like solar panels because New York City buildings account for like a huge percentage of the city, like the government's energy usage. And of those buildings, schools are like way more than half of them because schools are like the biggest. I mean, Department of Education is the biggest part of the city government.
Yeah, and schools also are exempt from complying with Local Law 97, which is one of New York City's most progressive climate laws, and it basically states that all buildings over 25,000 square feet have to reduce their carbon emissions 40% by 2030 and 80% by 2050. And schools are exempt from that, which is a problem because like they're like our biggest polluters, honestly. So
They're the biggest polluters of all public buildings. It's pretty.
kind of
And
crazy.
those goals are pretty modest, all things considered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. On a more positive note, how would you guys describe the Veggie Nuggets' particular brand of climate activism?
I think it's pretty hopeful. I feel like since we're all so young, we have that inherent aspect of like forward thinking and hope and, youthfulness and spryness. And also the focus on art, I think, is pretty important. And I think it sort of embodies that principle of hope and beauty and just gratitude for the space that we have in our neighborhood and cooperation with other groups. Yeah, I'd say it's a very positive group.
And I think one word that comes to mind for me is like kind of exuberance. And also that I feel like we do a lot of kind of advocacy like on a city and state level, but we always kind of keep it grounded in our very, very hyper local like art and gardening that we do. I think which is really helpful because I think if you're always advocating on a city and state level, it's very easy to get burned out, but we can always kind of come back to our garden and see the butterflies and just be happy. So
Yeah, I would say we're very hands-on, like in terms of everything that we do, like with the mixed media, cinematography, art, like with the garden, all of that in itself is like the way that we advocate for the climate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, I don't know, when we think of climate activism, hope isn't normally the first word that comes to mind. How important do you think it's been to your work, and how do you see it fitting in? I don't know if that makes sense as a question, but like, where does that instinct come from to make the work hopeful?
I think also without hope, there's not really any point in the
Yeah.
first place, So, and there's all sorts of hopeful things going on, like climate change is terrible and there's all sorts of stuff, but also like the world as a whole has peaked in our fossil fuel consumption. Like it's not going any up. It's just stagnated. So if we can start getting that to go down too, and then like the amount of technology that's been, working to help climate change. But I think there's more than that. We just need like a little bit of behavior change in the governments that, need to start recognizing it as an actual problem and like taking more drastic action.
Yeah. I don't think that much can come from being negative and focusing on problems versus solutions. And I think that's pretty rare nowadays to focus on like viable alternatives to what's going on and to focus on good things that are happening because the bad can be so overwhelming. But I think that focusing on the bad is, what the establishment wants us to do, and it's what's highlighted in the media. And I think that it's more revolutionary to look forward and look up.
After all, like hope is the thing made with feathers. So
That's a really good Emily Dickinson quote.
That was
I was just thinking about kind of how like a movement that's rooted in rage can be large and powerful, but it's also very short-lived. Like a fire will kind of die out. But if you root your movement in hope, then it can go a lot further and it can kind of make much more lasting change, and much more positive change. And so I think that's kind of why we really focus on hope in all of our work.
That is all extremely insightful. Have you noticed that joyful approach has made your work more approachable to your community? Like when you guys were working in the school, you guys remembered when you were kids having this like super bummer film shown to you. Do you think that your more fun introduction and education to climate change was maybe more effective?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's also like inspiring in a way. I feel like because kids will like kind of see a solution first and then they can learn about the problem as well. But like starting with a solution is a great way to do it.
Awesome. Am I looking at all the Veggie Nuggets, or do you guys have more members?
no,
We have more
we have
members.
a lot more members. Well, there's like 10 of us or something.
It's about double this.
Yeah.
And then there's also a lot of people who like maybe aren't like super consistent working on every project, but they'll come in for a project or two, or they'll, come to the garden and volunteer. It's not like I think, people have different capacities to help. Like when we were working on painting that block, we had like a bunch of
few
different
other
people.
kids coming
Oh,
and
we
stuff,
painted a block on 34th Avenue, open streets in our neighborhood.
That was really fun.
On
Open
89th
streets?
Street. We love open streets. They're
Yeah.
great.
That's so fun. Related to what you guys were just talking about, what do you think your generation of climate activists brings to the movement that previous may not have?
I think the hope actually. I feel like I think the Sunrise Movement is great and they do a lot of great stuff, but they're really focused on like the doom and gloom of it, and I think it's kind of exclusionary, honestly. I'm not trying to like throw any shade or anything. So, but like I think it's like it leaves a lot of people out, and if you like try to like they're like I feel like a lot of times they're like drawing lines like this person is good and this person is bad, but I think they're just like this person is like a person, and like at the end of the day like everyone's on the same planet that's in a little bit of trouble. So like whether you're I don't know, whether you're like a coal miner or if you're a solar panel builder, you're like everyone's still like, in the same boat, so you kind of have to work on solutions that like include everyone.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of disillusionment in this generation. I think that from at least the people I know, older generations tend to have a little more trust that government and corporations are at least somewhat going into things with the right intentions, or are just trying, like looking out for themselves and their families, or just, I don't know, different sorts of excuses. And I feel like because of the time that we were born, a lot of people my age are aware of the fact that we have to take things into our own hands, and that people that are in power now aren't going to make any changes if they can help it.
I think the energy that we have and the fact that I feel like a lot of people in our generation are so confident and passionate about what we do. It really helps like get the point across that like this is what we want to advocate for, and like whether you like it or not, or whether you want to hear it or not, like we're gonna get this point across. And I feel like that's something that a lot of other people, they don't tend to do, but I notice that a lot, I feel like, in our generation.
Yeah, and I feel like also like it's like even more urgent, like with every passing day, like we're getting closer and closer to like destroying our planet completely, which sounds all doom and gloom, but there is like hope. There is hope, and like we try to focus on the hope in our generation specifically. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Man, you guys are so cool. Okay. How do you see the Veggie Nuggets evolving in the future? I'm curious if you guys see yourselves like growing up within it and maintaining your sort of like membership as adults, or if you see it as something that'll be passed on to a new cohort of teenagers after you.
Hopefully a new cohort of teenagers after us. Just because I think a lot of what we do is fun because we're all kids and we're all kind of, enjoying it together. And I mean, we've got a lot of younger members in our group. We've even got one kid that's still in middle school, so that's pretty cool. But it's like I think it's also a struggle finding new kids because I kind of all did it because we're all friends together. So it's been tricky trying to get younger kids involved.
Yeah, I feel like the Veggie Nuggets might, if there's a possibility it could be a once in a lifetime thing, but I think it's also something that's very true to Jackson Heights, and that even if it's not under the name of Veggie Nuggets, it's a neighborhood that will continue to be very active and positive and inventive and tight-knit and everything. Like there are so many other groups in the neighborhood and people in the neighborhood that are passionate about the same things, and I think the spirit of the Veggie Nuggets will live on no matter what.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. I also think that like even if we all go off to college, I feel like the garden will like still be there. And me personally, like I would love like even if we're not doing like as much advocacy work, like I'd love to keep tending to the garden even like as an adult, just see how far it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing you guys could think about is like doing recruitment. The event you guys did at the elementary school, I feel like could be a natural way to get younger members involved. And maybe if there's even like a badge or something of like, hey, you're like an official member of the Veggie Nuggets now.
A badge and a Zoom link every Tuesday at 7:30. I'm just kidding.
And if you know anyone,
Yeah. If you know anyone, send them our way.
Yeah, please send
Yeah.
us.
I will let you know if I come across anyone. Okay, my last question for you is what advice would you give to people of any age who want to start taking action on climate?
It's never too late to get involved, and there's always like groups like within your area that are willing to like take action on things, and they may need help. So I guess just like don't be afraid to like reach out to people.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
don't do it alone. I think
Yeah.
that's like the number one thing. Just don't do it alone. Do it with people who you like, hopefully.
I also think like one big thing is like if you find an organization that you really want to invest time into, really invest time into it, and don't be afraid to offer your advice to kind of the leaders of the organization. Like I've found that like even the people at the very top of these like massive climate organizations will listen to you if you have fresh ideas and you're willing to give your time and your energy. And so like always show up and always give it like when you're there, give it your 100% because it's so much more fulfilling that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like an important piece of advice is like make sure that your voice is heard. Because if you have something important to say about a certain movement, or anything that you're passionate about, your voice will matter, even though it's a little cliche. But your opinion will be valued by someone, and it's just important to like get out there and make sure that you're heard.
All right, guys, thank you so much for your time, for, sharing space all together and figuring out your schedules to make this happen. And thank you also for the work that you're doing. It's so important for the world, and I'm sure it gets heavy sometimes when, your poops per month ratio is high or your garden gets knocked down. But thank you guys for sticking with it. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And make sure to check out our film perennial. Yeah.
Awesome, Lillian. Really
And
great.
thank you so much for your amazing questions.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I don't know. I think podcasts are really cool, so
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
it's good to have people making them.
Of course. Thank you guys. And then where can people find you online?
Oh, well, we have an Instagram. It's
We the Veggie Nuggets.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we the people, we the Veggie Nuggets.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
I think also we have a website, but I don't really know the address of it.
It's thevegienuggets.org.
Okay.
Still a work in progress.
It's a
but-
work-
Working on it.
Yeah.
Most of our information is on there.
Yeah.
Our link tree.
How to get involved. Like, you don't have to get involved with us also. There's like so many other we have other organizations on that website that you can get involved in because, you know, if gardening's not your thing, there's so many other ways you can do so.
Yeah. Also, if you live in the area, just pull up to 69th Street and 35th Avenue on Saturdays between 11 and 1 p.m. And you can find a veggie nugget or two and also get involved in composting.
Just like Google JH Scraps and you'll find our garden.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.